Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing an informative video for people who are new to the game on how to play the game. We're going to go over some of the basic rules and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into any combos, any advanced rules, or anything like that. I'm just going to show you how you can pick up a structure deck and start playing the game. And so for the sake of keeping things up to date, I picked out the newest structure deck that is out right now, which is Structure Deck Soulburner, and this one features the Salamangreat cards. And for a starting player, this is a really good deck, structure deck to start with, because it actually is currently one of the better decks in the game. With very little other investment, you can actually play and win at a locals. So when you buy a structure deck, it's going to come with three things. It's going to come with the deck, it's going to come with a mat, and it's going to come with a rule book. Now the rule book will be your friend. It'll teach you a lot of what I'm going to, but it won't be taught. You have to read it yourself, as opposed to like watching a video like this. But you should always keep this with you until you get more familiar with the rules, in case you ever need a reference. And then you have your field cover sheet, your mat, and the mats will always show you the monsters that are featured in that deck. And it also tells you the difference between your extra monster zones, your main monster zones, your spell and trap card zones, your deck, and where everything should be placed. So let's go ahead and open the deck and go over some of the cards that you find in this game. Good thing I have a pair of tweezers handy. No, you don't need tweezers to open a deck. You should not, in fact. You used to actually, oh, they do still have the tab. It's been a while since I bought a structure deck. They do still have the tab. Okay, so there are a few different places you're going to have cards, and there's going to be a few different type of cards. No normal monsters. We have field, equip, and continuous, quick play. And we have continuous, counter, and regular. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your main deck. Your main deck can consist of a minimum of 40 cards and a maximum of 60 cards. And it will contain a variation of your customized amounts of traps, which are these purple cards, spells, which are these green cards, and monsters, which are these tan cards. Now, each of these sections of cards will have subsections. Monsters have effect monsters, they have levels, and different things that tell you how you can summon them and how many of them you can have. There are 3 different types of trap cards and quite a few different spells, but we're just going to go over the ones that are in this structure deck for now. So we're going to start with traps. How are they used and what do they do? So there are 3 total types of traps. The first one being a normal trap card. And as you can see by its name, it says trap, and it has no symbol beside it, which tells you it's a normal trap card. So to activate and use this card, you must set it face down on your side of the field in one of your 5 spell and trap card zones, and it must remain that way for 1 turn. Then, beginning on your opponent's turn after they begin, you can flip it face up if its activation requirements are met, meaning if whatever it says is able to be done at that time, you can activate it. The next card is a continuous trap card. Now, like the regular trap card, it says trap, but this one has an infinity symbol, which means it is continuous. It does not leave the field after you activate it. Again, must be set face down on your side of the field for 1 full turn before you can activate it, but once it's activated, it stays on your field. Finally, we have Counter Trap, which has a little arrow next to the trap name. This card, once also, must be set face down and can be activated when its conditions are met. So whatever it says, when your opponent does this, or if this happens, you can activate this card, that's when that card is activated. The thing about a Counter Trap card is nothing can train to it. Your opponent can't do anything in response except for another Counter Trap card. So the other cards, when activated, you can activate a trap card, and then your opponent can respond to the trap card, or you can activate a trap card. And that creates something called a chain. The next thing we're going to go over is the spells. So this deck features a few of the more common spells that you're going to run into. And we have normal spell, which again, like trap, it'll say spell card with no symbol beside it. We have quick play spell, which has a lightning symbol beside it. We have continuous spell, which has the infinite. We have the equip spell, which has a cross. And then we have field spell, which has the star. So starting with normal spell cards, these cards can be activated directly from your hand during your turn only. and then once activated, you do whatever the card says, and then you place it in your graveyard. These cards do not have to be set, and they can only be activated during your turn. An equip spell card is something that you equip to a monster. You can either equip it to your monster or your opponent's monster. And then whatever effect that it has applies once that card is activated. This, like a continuous trap card, does not leave the field. After that, we have continuous spell, which once again has the infinity sign. This can be activated as from your hand, like you would a normal spell card, except it doesn't leave the field afterwards. It stays there. Then we have a quick play spell card. The thing about a quick play spell card that is special is that you can either activate it from your hand during your turn, like a regular spell card, or you can set it, and if you do, you have to wait the one full turn like you would a trap, but then you're able to activate this on your opponent's turn if its conditions are met. So this lightning symbol means quick play. You can either treat it as a spell directly from your hand, or you can set it and activate it like a trap. And finally, we have a field spell. So the special thing about a field spell is it has its own zone, which is over here in the corner, that once activated, you actually activate it in that zone. And like a continuous or an equip, it isn't sent to the graveyard. So once you activate it, its effects apply until it is removed from the field. And then finally, we have your monster. So monsters can be normal or special summoned depending on different levels. And their levels will range from 1 to 12. And they can be normal summoned or special summoned if they have the ability to be special summoned. To normal summon a monster that is level 4 or lower, you can just place it out of your hand. So anything that has 4 or less stars, unless it says otherwise on the card, can just be normal summoned in either a face-up attack position, or you can set it face down in face-down defense position. If it's in face-up attack position, if it battles an opponent's monster, you apply the attack stat for damage. So in this case, if we used the Gazelle and it were to fight a Fowl, Gazelle has 1500 attack and Fowl has 18. What would happen is you would declare that I am attacking your Gazelle with my Fowl. You would compare attack stats, and the monster with the highest attack stat lives while the other one dies. And the person whose monster dies takes damage equal to the difference in the two monsters' attacks. If a monster is in defense, which you can set a monster face down in defense, or if it is face up in defense and it is attacked, you apply attack to their defense. And then the monster with the lower stat dies, but neither player takes any damage. As for monsters that are above level 4, you cannot just place them. You must tribute a monster. For level 5 and 6, you can tribute 1 monster. For level 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, you tribute 2. And to tribute a monster, it must be face up on your side of the field for 1 full turn. So in this case, we have Salamangreat beat Bison, which is level 8, which would require 2 tributes. So if you had both Gazelle and Fowl face up on the field for 2 turns, you would say, I am tribute summoning. You would remove both of these cards and send them to the graveyard, and you would summon Salamangreat beat Bison. And when you do this, you can either choose to summon it in face up attack position, or set it in face down defense position. And that is all for the main deck. Again, your main deck can consist of any combination of a minimum of 40 cards and a maximum of 60 cards of spells, traps, and or monsters. You do not have to have all 3, nor do you have to have a set combination of any of them. The next part of the deck that we're going to talk about is your extra deck. So now there are a very large amount of extra deck monsters that all take different means of summoning. The ones included in this deck are Link monsters and Exceed monsters. However, there are also Fusion monsters. There are Synchro monsters. And that is all that is normally placed in the extra deck. There is another type called Pendulum, but we're going to not get into that right now. Each of these monsters are kept in a deck that is separate from your main deck. So if you look here, you see that you have your deck here and something called your extra deck over here on the opposite side. So when you're playing, you have your deck face down right here. You're not allowed to look at this unless a card says you can. However, your extra deck sits opposite your main deck, face down, so your opponent cannot see it, but you are allowed to look at that at any time you want. You can also summon the monsters at any time you want if the conditions to summon those monsters have been met. Fusion monsters normally require a fusion card to summon them. Ritual monsters require a monster called tuners to summon them. Exceed monsters require monsters that are the same level to summon them. And linked monsters require monsters of different types of monsters. In this particular case, Salamangreat Baylynx requires a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster. So these will be kept in a deck that is 15 cards maximum and 0 card minimum. You do not have to have an extra deck, but if you choose to, it cannot have more than 15 cards in it. These cards are special summoned and can be done anytime during your turn in your main phase 1 or main phase 2. Next thing we're going to go ahead and talk about is some of the words you just heard, like main phase, battle phase. We're going to go over how you play the game. So after you have constructed a deck with a minimum of 40 cards in it and a maximum of 60, you're ready to start dueling somebody else. You begin by shuffling your deck at the time of play. After your deck is shuffled, you can present it to your opponent to cut if they want to, in which case they can cut it and shuffle it so that they know you didn't stack your deck. You then set your deck to your right and your extra deck face down to your left, and you draw 5 cards face down. You will then determine randomly with your opponent on who gets to go first, who gets to go second. Once you've determined that, the turn player will begin their turn. The turn player does not draw any cards. So you'll start with 5 cards in your hand, and in this case we drew all traps. So I'd be able to either normal summon a monster if I had one, which I did not have, or I can set cards. So you start by your main phase 1, and then you go where you're able to set cards, and then on turn 1 you go to the end phase. During the main phase 1, you are able to normal summon monsters, activate spells, activate traps if possible, special summon monsters, and after that you go into your battle phase. Turn 1 of the duel does not have a battle phase, so you'll go directly to your end phase. Then the next person will go, and they will have their hand, and they begin their turn with their draw phase, where they draw 1 card from the top of their deck. They then enter their standby phase, which is your opportunity to activate any cards that you have that can be activated, such as a trap or a quick play spell card. After that, they proceed to main phase 1, where they may activate spells that they have in their hand, or they can set trap cards that they have. They may also normal summon a monster or special summon a monster. From there, the turn player can either go to their battle phase, where they can have their monsters attack your monsters, or they can go directly to the end phase. And that is the rough outline of how to play. There are a lot more advanced rules determining when you can do things, something called cost, special summoning, inherit summons, and a lot of other things that go into playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But if you were to go out and buy a structure deck, such as Structure Deck Soulburner today, the information that I just gave you should be enough for you to learn to play. So with that, we're going to talk about one last thing, and that's going to be a way for you to identify a monster on other cards. So a monster is categorized by 3 different things, and that is going to be their attribute, their level, and their type. So the attribute will be one of, I think, 7 or 8 different types. We have water, earth, wind, fire, light, dark, divine, and I think I already said earth. So a monster will always be one of those attributes, and they won't be more than one unless they have an effect that makes them that way. And as I stated earlier, a monster will be anywhere between level 1 to level 12. And then finally, you have their type. And that will be one of a very large amount of things, ranging from fish and sea serpent to dragon and warrior, all the way to Cyberse. And these are going to be what tells you if a monster can be made into something else. If it has a specific requirement that says you must make this with a level 4 or lower Cyberse, like the Baylynx does, it would require a level 4, so 4 stars or less, monster that is a Cyberse to make it. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any other questions about how to play the game or would like to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.